Give the call to the member for Newcastle.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Environment and Water. And what's the government's response to the terrible destruction of the Juukan Gorge? And how will the government make sure that this never happens again?
Give the call to the Minister for the Environment and Water.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I want to thank the member for Newcastle, who I know has spent a lot of time over the years in remote communities, for her question. Today, the government formally tabled our response to the interim and final reports by the Joint Select Committee on Northern Australia into the destruction of Juukan Gorge. We are so fortunate to share this continent with the world's oldest continuous culture and most successful environmental custodians, and Juukan Gorge is one of the oldest sites of human occupation in Australia, with 46,000 years of continuous culture, tradition, practices and stories. As I said this morning, it is unthinkable that any culture would knowingly destroy Stonehenge or the Egyptian pyramids or the Lascaux caves in France. And when the Bamiyan Buddhas were destroyed in Afghanistan, the world was rightly outraged. But that's precisely what occurred in Juukan Gorge. I want to thank all members of Parliament who participated in the 2 inquiries across the political spectrum and produced 2 very thoughtful reports. A particular debt of gratitude is owed to the Butu, Gunti, Guruma and Binigura people, who are the traditional owners of Juukan Gorge, and I am truly sorry about the loss you have experienced and the way the parliamentary inquiries and government response have added to your distress. What's clear from these reports is that our system is not working, which is why at the election the Labor Party promised to reform the system with a standalone piece of Indigenous cultural heritage legislation co-designed with First Nations people. That was our commitment, and today, in signing an agreement with the First Nations Heritage Protection Alliance, we took the first step in that journey. Mr Speaker, the final committee report identified 8 recommendations for reforming Australia's cultural heritage protections, and we have accepted 7 of them, and we are continuing to work through one recommendation, which is whether the ultimate responsibility for cultural heritage should sit with the Indigenous Affairs Minister or the Environment Minister. Mr Speaker, these are serious reports, and the recommendations speak to the principles and priorities that will shape our response. Free, prior and informed consent, truth-telling and open dialogue, genuine partnership, the kind that can only be entered into by equals. This morning, our government signed an agreement with the First Nations Heritage Protection Alliance. The Alliance will work closely with Minister Burney and Senator Dodson and the rest of us to make sure that we get these laws right. We are always a better country, more unified, more confident, more secure in ourselves when we give everyone a seat at the table, when we listen to all voices. We are committed to doing better in true partnership with First Nations Australians.